Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I take the train down to Ogilvie Station, and then I walk to work. My offices are now on the north side of Chicago, in the River North area. Used to be on LaSalle Street. But I do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I've been doing it for 7 years. And when I leave the Ogilvie Station, I pretty much take the same path. I will cross the Washington Street Bridge and then go to Franklin and catch a bus. In the middle of March, it was about 8 weeks ago, it was probably one of the coldest days of the year. And I was taking that walk. I was walking across the bridge, and of course the wind's blowing, as it always does on the Chicago River as you're crossing a bridge. And I was surprised to see a young man sitting on a milk carton at the end of the bridge. Now, I've seen this man before. I've seen him many times. And when I've passed him, I've looked at him and said hello, and he just smiles and says hello back. Sometimes he says hello first. But on this particular day, it was freezing cold, and when I saw him, I was surprised that he was out in this extremely, bitterly cold weather. As I approached him, he did the same thing. He turned to me and he kind of smiled. And I smiled at him, but instead of passing him by, I just kind of stopped. And I asked him how he was doing, and he said, "I'm cold." And for some reason, inherently, I took out my wallet, and I took everything out of it, and I gave it to him. And he looked at it, and he lit up like a Christmas tree. And I said, "I hope you stay warm." And he said, "Well, I will. I'm going to get a cup of coffee, and there's even enough here where I can get some breakfast." So I said, "Stay warm and you have a good day." And he said, "You have a good day as well." Now, as I was continuing my walk to work, I very quickly realized that I had given him every penny I had in my pocket, which meant that I had no money for lunch. I was going to have to go to the bank. And to go to the bank is an inconvenience for me because it's not anywhere on my way to work, and it's blocks and blocks away. I realized that as I was walking to work and kind of reflecting on this, that I didn't even think about what I had done. I just stopped, saw him in the cold, and I took the money out and I gave it to him, and then I went on my way. What I realized as well is that I gave up something for me to eat so that this man could eat. And I actually created this joy for him that probably is very uncommon. I mean, I get to eat 3 times a day. I do remember that I asked him, "When was the last time you had something to eat?" And he said, "Well, yesterday someone was kind enough to give me enough for a cup of coffee and a donut." So that's kind of what happened there. And it seemed like nothing. I mean, nothing. It was just spontaneous thing. Just spontaneous. And I see folks all the time as I cross the bridge, or I walk to work. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of folks. But here is a man who just every time I would pass him, and he's not always on the bridge every time I walk across the bridge. Sometimes I see him, sometimes I don't. But he always smiles. He doesn't rattle a cup. He doesn't get in your face. He just would smile. And there were many times when his smile would kind of make my day. At least it would make my morning. So that's that. I did eventually go to the bank and get enough money to have lunch. But what I think is important here is that one, I gave out of my own abundance, and without even thinking about it. It wasn't like, oh my God, should I only give him $1 or $2? It was just inherent, just to take what I had. And fortunately he can't. Fortunately I can go to a bank and he cannot. So I consider it a gift. But I think in reflecting on this, it's important for all of us to think about a couple of things. First of all, I believe that we are all called to be the light to be a light in this world, to make a difference every day in someone's life. And I personally measure my day. At the end of the day, I ask myself, did I make a difference in someone's life? And it's interesting that you answered the question the way you did, David. You said, well, I must admit that I probably don't do something every day. But I've known you for 28 years, and your children, many of your boys were in my youth group. So I know what kind of parent you are, and I know what kind of person you are in this community, and I can bet that you make a difference somewhere every day. So that's one thing, is just to be the light in the world. We're called to be the light. I think the other thing is important is just to be yourself. I mean, be sincere. Actions and giving and making a difference in people's lives should not be out of a sense of obligation. It should be inherent. It should just be, part of who you are, part of your own sincerity as a human being. I think the other thing that's extremely important is that you are fed, that we are fed in some way. It's very difficult to feed the world if you're not being fed. I find that one of the best ways to be fed is to be within a faith community, where you are nurtured through the Word and the sacrament, where you are empowered at the time that everyone comes together as a community to go back out into the world and to do the work that we're called to do. To be the light, and to be it in a very sincere and very genuine way. So that's my story. Thank you.
Well, Michael, you come from a big family too, right?
I do. I'm the oldest of 6 children.
Okay.
We moved all over the place.
So the oldest one is, I had an older brother who was always giving a good example, I have to tell you. So I suspect you are too.
It's tough being number one. In the family.
Yeah.
Yes, Jeff.
Michael, could you reflect a little bit on your motivation when you were writing that beautiful prayer for the community?
I think it's important to tell this story. Howard Freimark, a very good friend of mine, I think most of you know who Howard Freimark is, asked me, as a matter of fact, I first met David when I was asked to serve on the Park Ridge Prayer Breakfast Committee 28 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I served on that committee for probably 24 of those years. But Howard asked me if I would be willing to say a prayer for the community at the Park Ridge Men's Prayer Breakfast. So what I did was I wrote a prayer that pretty much was, it's not confrontational, but it basically calls to action everything about this community and what everyone that lives in this community is responsible to do and to be. So I struggled with this, and it was difficult even to stand there and do it, but I did it, and I think I covered all the bases. So
You did. Very well.
yeah.
Could you share your hope of why you are here tonight, and of what hope that might bring to our community from your perspective at this point in time?
Well, I said something in here, a couple of things that I say that I pray that we can increase the numbers of the bold ones who would go forth in mission and ministry to make this community a true united, hospitable, joy-filled, service-oriented, loving community, and that incorporates everyone.
Yeah.
So my hope for this community is that somehow the work that we do helps increase people's understanding of what we're all called to do. Our baptismal covenant is at the center of who we are called to be in this community and as individuals. So, any more questions? Yes.
What year did you write this prayer?
Well, I'm sorry?
What year did you write the prayer? 2013. Oh, just this March?
Uh-huh.
No.
April 13th.
I wrote it a week before the prayer breakfast.
Yeah. April 15th was the prayer breakfast.
Just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so it was I first read it at the men's prayer breakfast, and then Jeff came up to me after that and was in awe, which I was grateful. Thank you. Thank you. And that's why I'm here, because of this prayer.
all bases.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.